Hey, so welcome back to the channel. But when you think of Darth Vader, the last thing you think about is him being a good guy or progressively becoming more good as time goes on. But I'm here to challenge that today because I genuinely think that as the films progress, Vader becomes less and less evil. And when you think about any bad guy in movie history, they tend to get worse as the films go on. They get bigger, they get more menacing, they get more violent, whatever it may be. Prime example, Jaws. In Jaws 1, he's Jaws. In Jaws 2, he's a bigger Jaws. Alien. In Alien 1, it's one alien. Alien 2, you've got the whole colony of aliens, including Mama Alien. Aww. Terminator. Terminator 1, he was the Terminator. Terminator 2, he's now the good guy, but there's a worse Terminator, a more violent Terminator. And movie series tend to do that. The threat is bigger, he's worse, he's more powerful. And I get why that happens, because you've got to make the threat bigger. It happens in video games, it happens all the time. But it doesn't happen in Star Wars. Vader actually becomes more of a good guy as time goes on. And in this video, I'm going to prove it. And with that said, let's get into it. So I'm going to measure this is on how many people Vader ends and also how brutal that ending is. And when I say ending, you know what I mean, guys. I just don't want to get picked up by the algorithm police. But anyway, let's start with Revenge of the Sith, because that's obviously where he becomes Vader. And I know a lot of people will say, yeah, but Vader's not Vader till he's in the suit and what have you. And I sort of agree with that, but he's still Darth Vader. He's still being crowned as Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith, and so you've got to take them into consideration. And if you look really closely, when you split Anakin and Darth Vader, they do look different. Oh yeah, what I've had to do is you go zoom real close and I coloured in the eyes. But literally, yeah, they look the same. They're the same person physically. Anyway, in Revenge of the Sith, let's look at this. First of all, even though this happens afterwards, he takes out the separatists, and by my count there's like 14 separatists-ish that he ends. Let's just say 14, so that's 14 on the end count. But, and this is where he is pretty damn brutal, he takes out the younglings. Now I had to go back and watch this again and count them, and I count 7 younglings. 7. But I am sure there were more. There will have been more off screen. And let's be straight here. These are kids, these are infants. I don't know how you could go about doing that. To be fair, that to me is pretty heinous. But if you add those two up, even just the 7 that we see and the 14, that's 21 on the end count. So he actually starts as Vader. He's really set that bar pretty high. Does he say it any higher moving forward? Well, we're going to count them and find out. Next in the timeline is the Kenobi series. And, you know, for all the flaws that the Kenobi series had, I still thought they did Vader really well. There were still some bits that they could have done better, in my opinion. But I feel they did Vader really well. But the truth is, he only takes out 2 characters. He only ends 2 characters. But they are innocent civilians. They are not rebels. They're not people that are trying to fight with him or anything like that. They are innocent civilians. And the one that he takes out in the most brutal fashion is a kid. And he snaps his neck. That is crazy. So, I'm giving that extra points. I'm giving that an extra 5 points. No, well, what? I'm giving it an extra 10 points. So, 11 are on the scale. Now you might want to argue with me that I'm giving that a 10-pointer, but I am giving it a 10-pointer, so just live with it. Next up, we have Rogue One. And Rogue One, he ends 11 soldiers. Now, that is the same as before, via my ranking. But and this is a big but, 11 soldiers. These are people that have signed up. They are part of the Rebel Alliance. They are military. And I know that military people being ended is still not nice, but they have signed up for that, whereas civilians, they haven't. And so that's why I think it's so much more brutal in Kenobi that he only ends 2 in number. But again, I rank that number up because they are civilians and how brutal it was, versus Rogue One, where they are soldiers. But there we go, we're on 11 in Rogue One. So A New Hope, and the number we have here is 6. Let's start with the first one. The very first scene, the very first dude. He chokes him and he ends him. He ain't surviving that. Vader's got the grip of a Terminator. Like, he's got mechanical hand strength. There's absolutely no way that guy survived. So he's count number 1. The next one, and I am counting it because the fight leads to this, is Obi-Wan. Vader takes out Obi-Wan. Or ends Obi-Wan. So that's number 2. And then in the fight scene over Yavin, in the TIE Fighter, he takes out 4 people. So he takes out 4 rebel soldiers that are flying. So we've got 6 in A New Hope. That number has dropped. He is becoming less brutal, to be fair. But things only get worse, or get better, however you want to term it. So Empire Strikes Back. And in Empire Strikes Back, he doesn't end any rebel soldiers whatsoever. Not one. He only ends 2 people. That's Admiral Ozzel, who, let's be honest, he deserved it. He did, the jerk. And Captain Needa ends him as well. So he takes out 2 Imperial officers. Now, we're going to still count them as 2, but he doesn't take out 1 rebel in Empire Strikes Back. So already, he's becoming a much, much nicer guy, you've got to say. At least in terms of the rebels' perspective, he's almost like he's on their side at this point. Not quite, but you get where I'm coming from. And then we're on to Return of the Jedi, which is really the last outing of Vader. Well, it is the last outing of Vader. What am I talking about? But anyway, so yeah, Return of the Jedi. Now, I've said this before in a previous video, but the name Return of the Jedi, to me, that relates purely to Vader or Anakin, because it's Anakin that returns. It's Vader that dies, it's Anakin that returns, he's the Jedi that returns. And I think that is so fitting. I said that in a previous video when I was talking about the movie names. But irrespective of that, how many rebels does Vader end in Return of the Jedi? 0. Okay, but maybe there's a couple of officers that annoy him like they did in Empire, and so he ends them. Nope, not at all. He doesn't end any officers, anyone in the Imperials or in the Empire in Return of the Jedi. In fact, Vader only ends 1 person, and he ends that 1 person saving his son, which is Palpatine. He ends Palpatine and fulfills the prophecy. And so when you go through the timeline of Vader, he starts really, really evil and gets nicer as the films go on. If anything, he could have ended Luke. When he did his saber throw, he could have got Luke. And on top of that, when he's fighting with Luke, he gives up the fight. He gives it up. He allows Luke to defeat him. And Vader, throughout the course of the films, just becomes a better, a nicer guy, really. And when you look at Vader as a character in movie history, he's seen as he ranks it out as like one of the most evil, one of the most brutal, one of the most terrifying characters in movie history. And I love him for that. I think he's fantastic. I totally dig that. But when you look at it properly, he actually becomes a nicer character throughout the films, rather than the polar opposite of pretty much every other movie out there, where the bad guy becomes worse and worse and worse as the films or the series of those films go on. And so it's so polarizing, it's so interesting. That's what I think actually makes Vader a much more interesting character than just your standard movie bad guy. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and my take on Vader and just how he progresses through the films. Just to note that I've got a real interesting project that I'm working on that is very much Vader centric. It's something that I've been working on now for a few months, and so I'm hoping it's something that you get to see and, well, look out to see, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Again, it's taken me a lot of time, really pushing my abilities in terms of editing and things like that, but it's something that I'm really excited to release. But I just want to make the story really ping. I want it to be absolutely, chef's kiss. And what I'll say to you is that, without giving too much away, it all relates to the Cave of Evil, and I'm bringing in something that's like a theory video, but it's a story rather than me just talking about it. So it is going to be very story oriented, that gives the theory behind it as to why, but again, in a storytelling capacity. So it's something I'm really excited to release, and something I hope people enjoy. And of course, if you do, when I do release it, see it, please smash the like button, and please, hit me in the comments, or, because these things just help massively in the algorithm. But hey, that's enough of me begging you to watch a future video. It's quite a bit away, yeah. I'd say I'm probably about 3 or 4 weeks away from releasing it. With that said, all that said, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, please don't forget to hit the like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And let me just end by saying thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.